Bear cavalry, just bear cavalry, if it ever existed. Is it cool? What should we fight it against? And just, the image of polar bears, of men riding polar bears. And ever since I was a boy, I thought that was one of the coolest things ever. Unfortunately, in real history, it doesn't happen that much. But if you ever had those thoughts, I have the perfect Warhammer 3 faction for you. May I present to you the Red Tsar of Kislev, Boris Ursus. As I said before, he's the Red Tsar. He's one of the original Tsars, and he is also the champion of Ursun. So Boris, contrary to his daughter, is not a wizard bitch. He is more of a go punch chaos in the face type of person. In the campaign, you have to unlock him by completing either Katarin's or Constantine's objectives, and you can unlock him by thawing him out of the ice, literally like Captain America style. And he comes back with a vengeance against chaos. And I have got to say, his campaign is really, really wicked. So I'm glad to show you this today. And let's get into Boris Ursus and his Ursun revivalists. All that is to say about their campaign, and I'll show you some awesome army compositions that go along with it. Hey Strat fans, what's going on? It's Colonel Strat, the Strategy Extraordinaire. So first off, I want to apologize. I did lose the audio for these all these portions. So if it looks a little off with my movements and all that, I do apologize. But today we're going to be going at Boris Ursus. So he starts with a faction effect for his for helping his daughter. He gets some diplomatic relations with the Ice Court. He does his settlements in Chaos Wasteland climates receive reduced climate penalties, so he's a lot better for settling the Chaos Wastes. He also gets a huge reduction in construction cost for his garrison buildings, which means he's very easy to build up his garrisons and fortify himself. He also has construction -1 for his province capital, and he does get some more recruit rate for his Warbear Riders, which influences his his rider-centric rider-centric style. He does have a upkeep reduction by 50 as well for Warbear Riders, which again influences his Warbear Rider-centric style. And then he gets leadership, melee attack, and I think it's also melee defense against Chaos Warriors and Demons of Chaos. So he gets a lot of bonuses from fighting them. And so that's what makes him awesome. Now let's get into his campaign.
Ursun woke me to keep this world safe.
Alright, Boris. So, again, how he starts is pretty similar to other Kislev starts, except he's in the Chaos Wastes. So he's got to, he's far away from Kislev. His first faction he's fighting against is a Cornate faction. So he's going to be fighting a lot of demons early on. He starts with a Patriarch, very, very good unit, a very good hero unit, and he's got some Sarguard, some Armored Cuirassiers, and some Warbear Riders, which is a decent army, all melee, with a little bit of missile, but, not too bad. So he, we'll fight this army here first, get him out of here. A pretty simple fight. And I usually do Salyak just because, you get some army replenishment, but Devotion doesn't really matter for you because you're not going to be really playing the politics, not really going to go for the Loyalist supremacy. But you can still invoke the Motherland and get its bonuses. I usually do Salyak because it has a big Gruth bonus to start with, but Ursun does give you the Bitterness of Winter, which is a really good hex spell. Salyak again has growth and casualty replenishment. Tor has the Wrath of the Bear, which is a really good augment for 3 uses for the army ability. But Daz I don't really touch because he's not really that good. But so I'll start with Salyak just to give me that growth and casualty replenishment. Take this settlement as a beachhead, and then that's pretty much how you start. Your main goal is to capture the Bloodfire Falls kick this whole Khornate faction out, and then you'll have to build up an army of Cassars to start with. So, Cassars aren't the best, but they do the work, and they do it well. And then, like I said, you'll have to conquer all these areas, and and Archaon is up there as well. So he's going to be a problem, a little bit of a problem too. So you got to make sure that you are able to, consolidate, and you're surrounded by demon factions. So it's going to be a little bit difficult. But I usually start with heroic resilience, and hard to hit, because you want to buff up Boris first. He is always going to be more valuable in your army starting out, so I usually go with buffing him up first. And then you can get these unlocked to buff up his Zargard and his Warbear Riders, and eventually his Elemental Bears, which he makes very, very good use of. So giving him a regeneration is insane, and then Resettler is pretty good as well. He has no colonization cost faction-wide, which makes him very good for reconquering places, reconquisting. He's really good at that. And so basically what you'll want to do is just build up Cassars and, conquer this area. And again, Archaon's over here. So he's going to be the biggest threat that you're going to want to deal with first, because once you take care of him, then you're going to want to either go to the side where I think it's Malice and Daniel and what's his name, Sigvald is over there as well. I usually do the Saliak's Lullaby for the Patriarch, because the heal, it's always really good to get. And then I'll start with getting a recruitment building, just so I can get more Cassars and more Cassars with spears, and then armored Cassars, and eventually Streltsy, which are really good units to have. But yeah, you'll get the Cassar hut just so you can get up to the Streltsy. I don't really get the Sargard until I capture the Howling Citadel. That way I could put it in the main building. But that's just me being a little bit of a nitpick. But you could put it in here as well to get the Sargard, and try to speed through it. But like I said, he has a lot of growth bonuses, so he's going to power up really fast. And I usually get the cold storage for the technology, but just for him I get the hooked axe blades, because he's going to need that extra melee defense and any type of stat boost to his army to help him, blitzkrieg through all these chaos forces. So, yeah, that's pretty much what you're going to want to start with. They not have access to the Ice Court yet, and I probably don't until the late campaign, just because you're going to be focusing on getting people through. For diplomacy, Crackerjack is probably going to be your biggest ally if they stay alive. It's going to be hard to get them to decide with you, though, just because they're dwarves. But other than that, it's just demons all over. So you're going to have to, really buckle down, and you'll be fighting a two-front war with Slaanesh and Archaon on that side, and then a Tzeentchian faction over here, and then even over here you got what's his name, Kolek. You got Kolek over here, and then over here you have Malice Darkblade again, and you have fighting with Sigvald and with Daniel. So you're just, it's going to be a bloodbath over here. So you're going to want to just make sure that you consolidate here and make sure you have enough forces to go back and forth, because it's not going to be really easy in the early game, but you can persevere, and relying heavily on Boris himself will allow you to just power up. And as long as you get Archaon out, it's pretty much a downhill slope from there. By the time you reach Kolek, you're going to be pretty powerful, and then you could always turn around and attack the others on the other side. But once you get to there, by that time, you've got your Warbear Riders, you got your Elemental Bears, and you're just going to be able to kick some ass. Other than that, there's not much to say about his campaign. Like I said, you just consolidate here and have a two-front war. So it's a little harder than other Kislev starts, but it's not impossible. You know, I find it very easy. Once you get through Archaon, you'll be able to get through it. So let's go into some arm compositions now. All right, so here for our first tier 1, we've come up against Archaon. So he doesn't have a lot of units because I've kind of been a little bit of a cheaty boy with these guides, just trying to, because I'm on a crunch for time, I don't really give the AI much turns to recruit. So I try to just power through it and get me some recruits. But anyway, that's why it looks like this. So anywho, for our army here, we've got our Patriarch and Boris, and then of course we have our Sarguard, accompanied with 6 armored Cassars for the front line, and 8 regular Cassars on the back line. The Warbear Riders bring up the rear, making for a pretty decent tier 1 army. Again, the Corsairs are very underappreciated for, for their value. They do chuck up quite a bit of value into it, and the armored Cassars are pretty good too. We can get them at tier 2, so that's why I accompanied them into my army, even though usually you'll just it could be cheaper sometimes to have a full Cassar stack. They're not really going to be that viable because you're going to want to have a little bit of armor in your thing. And Archaon, even though he's underpowered, he still is pretty OP by himself. So we're going to have to try to take him out to be able to win this, and it should be still a pretty close battle. So let's get right into the battle. So here we are with our first battle. So like I said, we have it's kind of like a middle because of Archaon, the balance power is very much in the middle. So again, we have our Sarguard here, we have the armored Cassars at the front, regular Cassars in the back, our Patriarch bringing up with his Salyak ability, and then Boris in the front with our Warbear Riders on both the sides and the back. Should make a pretty decent formation, and should be able to take this Chaos army. Archaon has a artillery piece, so we are going to want to get the Warbears around to attack that artillery piece. But other than that, he doesn't really have anything super scary, so it should be a pretty decent fight. Alright, let's move the Sarguard up. And then the Cassars follow behind. We'll have to do them individually so that we don't get them on either side. Or get them in the middle. Yeah, that barely missed him. Yeah, we just have to make sure that we get them up there. Alright. Sorry. Oh, come on, miss. Oh, hit a little bit. Those Hell Cannon blasts are very nasty. But, we just have to creep up and get them, because Kislev at this point, at this stage, has a lot of, hybrid units. So you're going to want to get some ammunition off on the Chaos Forces as well, otherwise you're just wasting it. Oh no, come on, get them the right way. There we go. Alright. Oof. See, we're taking too much fire from that Hell Cannon. We're going to have to draw the enemies away from it. Come on. Let's get there. Alright. Come on, get in there. Make the connection. Alright, we got to get them here to fire their ammunition now. Boris, sorry. Boris, you have to go and draw out Archaon. If we can get Boris and the Patriarch to kill Archaon, that'll be pretty good. Oh man, his Searing Doom is still hurts. Oh, it hurts. Alright, the Warbears are going up the side. Alright, so we can get around and get to the Hell Cannon. Now, Boris has an interesting ability that sometimes can give him, rampage. But increases his chance of hitting things. Yeah, see, Hussars are underrated because they have so many entities. For 18 missile strength, they could still do a pretty decent amount of damage. And if you know how to use them, you can use them well. Even though the armored Hussars are better because, you know, in melee combat, regular Hussars can still do a decent amount of damage. So they should not be underestimated in any way. Okay, we got them cut down in here, but I really wish we didn't have the Sarguard in there. Alright, let's just try to get them taken out. Alright, and then we have our Warbear Riders going to take out the Hell Cannon. And it should be mopping up pretty simply now. We're going to take a little bit more casualties than I wanted, but we'll still be good. Our Warbear Riders are making the difference because they're just so powerful. We're just trying to keep this Hussar here. He's taking the brunt of the damage from the Hell Cannon. But other than that, they don't have any other ranged units. The only other range they have is from Archaon spells, and he's probably done a good amount of damage just by himself. Like I said, if you can get him knocked out of the campaign early on, then you're going to have almost no problem until you reach Kolek. And by that time, you'll probably have, you know, tier 2 or tier 3 units, and Boris himself will be powered up enough that he'll be able to take care of Kolek no problem. And, you know, if you get, like, Streltsy, you can take care of Kolek no problem. I'll show you that in the second battle, because I think we're going to be going after him next, just because he's, like, in the path. So... yeah, it looks like it's all wrapping up now. Just have to take care of Archaon and his general and his hero down there. Alright, and there we go. And that's a victory. So, like I said, to reiterate, if you can knock Archaon out here, then it's going to save you a lot. He will always, if he's half health, and you know at least 2 or 3 of his units are above half health, which that includes his hero, his army could still survive. So I often will chase them down to try to just wipe them off. But I think we'll get them in the end turn here, so it won't be that big of a deal. We just have to, you know... but yeah, not that big of a problem early game, but if you let him snowball, he could become a big problem to you. So it's pretty much, for the early game, it's just you and Archaon duking it out, and then whoever emerges from that, they go against Kolek. So like he's just a beast even by himself with like 470 armor piercing damage, 70 melee attack with flaming and magical attacks. He's just a monster. It's insane. It's insane how good he can be. Alrighty, but we'll probably just deal with him in the end turn, and then we'll go up against Kolek in our tier 2. Alrighty, so that'll wrap up at tier 2. That'll wrap up at tier 1. Let's go into a tier 2. Alright, and here we are with a tier 2 up against Kolek. He didn't have that much opportunities to recruit, so I caught him out in the open outside my settlement. I am going to bring the garrison in so that I can keep them from reinforcing, just so I can keep it more of a fair fight, and show you how we fight Kolek. So he's not got that good of an army, but for me, I've upgraded a little bit. I've gotten my Sarguard up. I've gotten 4 Sarguard with great weapons for my bonus versus infantry, and then 3 Sarguard with shields so that we can have a basic line. And then replacing my Hussars are Streltsy. Streltsy are really good armor-piercing great axe infantry that just do so much damage against large targets with their armor-piercing damage. They're so good. So that's why they're really good against like Kolek himself. And then of course we have our Warbear Riders bringing up the rear. And I can't even tell you how much that the Streltsy will make a difference against Kolek. We do have his special things, So let's get into the battle. All right, and here we are with the battle. Now, what I wanted to say before was that Boris now has both of his special artifacts, his short blade and the armor of Ursun. So he's going to be very, very much powerful on his own. He should be able to hold Kolek down while the Streltsy pelt him. And the Streltsy, I just love the look of them. They look really Russian, really Khazaric. And then, of course, the Sarguard looking awesome as ever with the great weapons as well. And so it's a pretty simple army composition. There's Boris on Erskine. He's starting to get really powerful by this time. With his frostbite attacks, he's going to be able to slow down a lot of enemies as well and do well in melee. Like I said, the biggest problem, the one we're going to have to deal with the first, is Kolek and all of his Dragon Ogres. But their size is their downfall, and you can just focus fire with your Streltsy to do a lot of damage and punch through all their armor. So, but Boris has his armor of Ursun, which gives him a big damage boost, as well as all of his resistances have buffed up a lot. And as you can tell, because of that, our balance of power is well in our favor. Let's get going. Alrighty, so we're going to keep the Streltsy up front and have them skirmish. And then we're going to keep the Boar Bears on the side. The Streltsy will skirmish once the enemy gets close enough to go behind. Like I said, our priority is going to be the big units, the monstrous entities, just to try to get them out of the fight. Alright, let's fire on these side guys. It's not going to do that much damage because, you know, they don't have a lot of armor to pierce through, but, you know, still going to do a decent amount. We still do 25. So, it's still a good amount of damage, even though we're not using the armor piercing. Those are the only units we have to worry about, but the Streltsy are still pretty good in melee combat because they're armored and they have great axes. So, they're a really good hybrid unit. Oh, man. He used his storm ability. I forgot that he had his hammer. Alright, now we're starting to open fire. A good tactic is always to not try to focus fire on one unit. Spread out the fire a little bit. That way you don't waste bullets on units that, you know... I mean, yeah, you could rout a unit, but it's better to just do solid damage across the way of the army. That way your guys behind the skirmishing units do better because they have an advantage over the units rather than having one side of it have an advantage while the others don't. Get what I mean? If you spread it out, you get more damage overall, because then by the time your skirmishing units get out of the way and your units behind get engaged, they have a nice advantage against them. All right, so now we got to focus on getting Kolek down. Oh, and he's got his wizard casting spells too. Let's get the Khazars in, the Zargard in. All right. Oh, we got our War Bears around. Let's go do some hammer and anvil, if I don't forget. Get the Streltsy out of there. That way they can do some firing of themselves. We got one Streltsy stuck in there. Get him out of there. Yeah. Well, he's taking a lot of damage. Yeah. Come on, pock bat. Oh, no. Yeah, let's get the Streltsy firing on him. Let's get all the Streltsy firing on him. Yeah, let's just open fire. See, we can just go right through. Because he's so massive, that's his big drawback. Because, like, he's got such a big hitbox. We could just keep whittling down his health until... Oh, he's dead. Bye-bye, Kolek. And now his army will soon follow. We just have to focus on the Dragon Ogres. Not going to be as much of a bullet sponge as Kolek was, but it's still going to help. His rest of his army is pretty much crumbling at our feet. It's no contest. No contest at all. All right. Come on, let's get those Dragon Ogres. It's not, like, again, they don't have as big of a hitbox as Kolek, but they're big enough, they're tall enough over our units that we're gonna be able to shoot them without an incline. They do their work against our warbears because they are massive monsters. So our warbears are going to have to focus on smaller units. See if we can get those dragon ogres down. Come on, shoot through them. Come on, they're almost gone. The losses should be coming up. The army loss penalty should be coming. There we go. All right, this one was a little bit less bloodier than the first, probably because Kolek was a lot easier to defeat with this army. Because again, we have gunpowder units are probably the bane of like monstrous units because they can fire right over them even when they charge the main lines. So those dragon ogres and Kolek just stood no chance. So yeah, that's a really good composition for them. So that does it with our tier 2 composition. Let's now go into a tier 3. All right, and here we are with our tier 3. I went around the map a lot to try to get him some level ups so that he can apply his final red skill lines to them. So now he's got some Sarguard. We've down to just 6 with 4 Ice Guard to accompany it. And Ice Guard, he doesn't buff up as much, but they do their purpose, and they're better than Streltsy because they could fire over. And then, of course, we have the mainstay of the army, the Warbear Riders. They get the most buffs. And then we have the Elemental Bears that get regeneration, among with other insane buffs that Boris can do to them, making them a pretty good unit, where in other Kislev factions they wouldn't be as good of a unit. So we're up against a Tan here. He's got a pretty basic army. He's not got. It's pretty much just orc laborers, but he does have his Death Street rocket, some Chaos Dwarf warriors, and his other things. So let's go into this battle. All right, and here we are in the battle. So again, like I said, Zatan, because of his his laborers, he's hit the balance of power is very, very low. But he still can do that tactic like I showed you, where he blobs up his laborers and has his artillery fire at us. So we're going to have to use our warbear, our cavalry, for their use. So having a cavalry focus is going to be really good for this. So the elemental bears, like I said, they have regeneration. On top of that, they also have an insane 35% bonus to their physical resist, and also magic resist. So they get a lot of bonuses from this, from Boris, that it does insane. So we're gonna have to focus on the Chaos Dwarf warriors with the Ice Guard, and try to focus on I think there's a blunderbuss unit too. Other than that, all the chaff can just be blobbed up and dealt with other ways. All right, so let's move them up. Make sure 1 elemental bear is on each side, because we do want to try to get around to their artillery. Alrighty, let's move them up. Slowly creep up. Like I said, they have a lot of entities, but they're really shit entities, so they should be able to route fast and shouldn't cause us that much problems. Alright, we'll get the Sarguard in there. We have to try to spread them out so that they can, engage the full line and they can't get behind us. We'll have the Ice Guard target specific targets like the rocket launcher, the blunderbusses, maybe Zatan himself, maybe his Demon Smith. Yeah, let's do Zatan himself. Yep. And then we're going to have the Warbear Riders go right through all of the little guys, as well as the Chaos Dwarfs, because they're just going to do better charging through these chaff units than just sitting behind. And the elemental bears do have a breath attack, just like dragons. It's like an ice attack, so we always want to use those breath attacks when we can. Do a little bit of free damage. All right, about to clash. They have done a little bit of damage to us, especially our Ice Guard with that rocket, but we should be able to do a decent amount of damage pretty fast and be able to withstand their damage. Because again, it's mostly... Oh, okay, we got to get Zatan now. He locked down
one of our Starguard units instead of Boris himself. What an idiot. But then against the AI. Alright, let's charge those Goblin Wolf Riders. Have the other one go down and charge the Deck Shriek Rocket. And then we have to take out those Chaos Dwarf Warriors. Alright. We've already broken through in the sides. You know, these laborers are already routing. They don't have any chance at all. And this is a really good synergy build with Warbear Riders, Elemental Bears, and Starguard. You have so many things that are getting bonuses from Boris's command that enemy forces just fall apart. All right, we focused on Zatan, and he's pretty much out of the game now. He doesn't have his cloak yet, so he's not able to reduce his damage. And then we were just going into the masses. Let's have the Warbears do their cavalry job and just chase down all the chaff, so they don't come back. That's probably the best. The best thing about this build is that once the enemy units do break, you can chase down the chaff pretty easily with your Warbears. The Warbears are one of the few cavalry units that can stick in the combat too. So that's an interesting thing about them, is that they can stay in combat a lot as well. All right, let's do another breath attack, and let's watch this one. All right, guys, let's see what this breath attack. Ooh, that's a nice one. It's like little icicles he shoots out of his mouth. All right, there should be the army losses. Okay. All right, that was kind of an unfair fight because we were fighting like slave units. But it is a good way to show off this this army composition. It's a very powerful comp with the Ursan Revivalists, just because Boris is able to buff up his bears insanely amount, and his elemental bears, his regular bears, and his Starguard are just buffed up so much that it's no contest. 35% physical resist, 25% spell resist. With regeneration for his elemental bears is insane. So that pretty much wraps up all of these army compositions now. So let's go and wrap this thing up now, shall we?
Boris Ursus.
All right, Strat fans. So I hope you guys like this journey into the into the world of Warhammer Fantasy Santa Claus, Boris Ursus himself. I do appreciate you guys tuning in to see this and to listen to my strats. I do understand that it looks a little weird, and I'm sorry that I lost the original audio, but I'm going to try to avoid this in the future. I hope that you guys enjoyed this, and that if you enjoy what I do, that you'll leave a like, maybe comment down below. Remember, I answer all the comments, and I'm looking forward to the next one. And you guys all take care of yourselves, and remember to keep it strategic, Strat fans. Colonel out.